Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be covering Git Stash and different types of Git Stash commands. Why is it useful and where it can come handy. Also, we'll see how we can connect remote Git repository such as GitHub to our local Git repository, because in last videos we have been working in our local Git repository. We have not yet connected to a centralized remote repository. So we'll see that. So let's get started. Let me just open terminal. So we had created the sample projects earlier. I'll just go into that. Yeah, so we had basically two branches in there. Let me just check that. Yeah, we had development and master. Let me just check the difference between the two, if there is any. So there is no difference. So we'll see today how Git Stash is useful. So let me go to, so currently we are in development. Okay, so let me just see the files. So let me just open file. I'll just open it in Visual Studio. Yeah, let me just open this file. Yeah, so let me just add one more function. Let's say multiply, and we'll save it. We'll go back to a terminal. We'll do git status. Just increase the size. Yeah, so we have modified this file.js now, but for some reason I don't want to work on development branch. Some urgent requirement or something came up, so I need to work on the master branch. So what can I do? Either I can add this file to the git stash and commit it and then push it to somewhere, or I can just leave it as it is so that I can come back and I can work on it, and I can jump into master branch right now to work on some other stuff. So how we can do? So if I do git checkout master right now, so it says file.js has been modified and it is switching to master. So let's say which branch I am in. So I am in master right now, but development I had this modification in file.js, but I have not yet committed and not yet added to staging area. So let's see this master. So master also has this file.js. Okay, so I have modified this file.js in development branch. Okay, let's see if this master branch file.js has been changed or not. So let me just open file.js. As you can see, in master branch as well, this particular thing, that function, multiplication function, is available. Although I have not added or merged development to master, but still available. The reason is I have not added it to staging and I have not committed it basically. So Git is not yet tracking it. It is not the Git basically is not updated with this particular change. So it is, the content of this is reflecting across all the branches which are available in the local directory. So how to deal with it? Just open this file.js. So it is already opened in my Visual Studio Code, and as I can see, currently I'm in development branch. It is showing the content of the development branch. So let me just change it to master. Okay, and as you can see, in master also we have this function multiply, right? So it is available in both the branches, although I have just changed this particular file in development branch. The reason it is being shown in the master branch is because we have not yet added this particular change into git stash, git memory, and git is not tracking it right now. So what we can do, we can either add it in the development branch and we can commit it, or we can use the stash option so that it will not get reflected to other branches and it will not hamper other branches activities. Suppose if I am going to work on the same file.js, but due to this particular change I am unsure about what this change will bring in. It will either break the code or something. So I don't want this particular change because this is not the part of this master branch. So what I'll do, I'll go back to terminal. So I'll just go back to development. Okay, it says switching to development, and it has a file.js modified, but if I see the status, it says modified file.js, but I don't want it, so I'll do git stash stash, and it says saved working directory and index state WIP on development. So git basically has saved the state of this file, whatever the modification I have done, it has saved in its memory, and it will not show any changes if I do a git status now. So I can just move ahead. I can go to let's say master. Okay, and I can see here there is also no change. Let me just go to Visual Studio Code, and as you can see I'm in master, and this particular piece of code which was there in development, that multiplication function, is not available now. So my working directory is clean. There is no conflicting changes because of not being committed in the other branch. It's not available in master, and I can continue my work in the master branch. So let's say I have completed my work on master branch, and I need to go back to development branch to resume that particular file change, that particular modification which I was doing on file.js, to resume it. So what I'll do, I'll just go to master branch, sorry, from master to development branch. Let's say git checkout development, and right now I'm in development branch, and since I had already saved that particular state, that particular changes, and by doing that git stash, so I can just bring that back and I can start working on it. So how to bring that back? So one first command was to stash the changes, so for that we used git space stash. Now to list out, to see what all changes we have stashed in git memory, for that we'll use git stash and list. So this will show how many changes we have been stashed. Okay, so right now we have only stashed this particular functionality change, that adding multiplication thing, and we switched to master to work on some other stuff. So we came back and we just want to work on that particular change which we were doing earlier. So how to bring that change up? If I do git status right now, so there's nothing. Okay, I don't have that particular change. So what I'll do, I'll just do git stash pop. So what this will do, this will pop the last change in the git stash memory, and it will just show you that particular change, that it will just bring it back to your working directory. So currently I'm in development, and this particular command has bring back that particular file.js change. And if I just see the difference in this file, so right now we have this particular thing, functional multiply return a into b available. So if you see in the background in the Visual Studio Code, I am in development branch and I have this particular change back. So what I can do, I can just go ahead and I can add it, and I can commit this particular change, added multiplication functionality something, and this has been changed. So if I do a git diff master and development, it says master development branch has this piece of code added, but the master branch does not have. So git stash helps you to save your current state of work, and so that you can go ahead and work on some other stuff, and you can come back later and you can just retrieve all those changes and you can go ahead with the changes. So this is how git stash works. So there is one more command which is git stash drop. So that particular command, what it do is, whenever you have saved any state of your code and you have moved on to some other branch to work on something else, and you came back and you realize that whatever you have changed earlier, whatever you have stashed, you don't need it anymore. You just want to delete all those changes. You don't want to work on those are like scrap. So in that scenario, you don't have to like bring it back from the stash memory and delete the files, undo the changes. You just have to use one simple command, which is git stash drop. So let me just modify the file a bit. So let me just add one more function, let's say division, and I'll save it. I'll go to, just clear it, I'll just go to git status, and it says we have modified this file, but I don't want this file to be checked in right now. So what I'll do, I'll git stash it, and it has saved this in a working state, and I'll just move ahead to git checkout master branch. Suppose I did something. So as you can see in the background, this does not have multiplication or either division, because I have already stashed that division and I have already committed that multiplication. So all those changes are not being reflected here. So what I'll do, I'll just go back to development, and if I do a git status, there is nothing, but in git stash I have one saved change, but I don't want this particular change to be, to retrieve it back and to work on this. I just want to delete this change. So what I'll do, I'll just use git stash drop. So what it says, drop the reference with the reference which was to this particular stash which we have just which we have just saved. So it will just drop that. It will not it will just delete it. So if I do git stash list now, it says nothing. It does not return anything, because from the stash memory I have just deleted this particular change, and there's no way we can go back and we can retrieve that division functionality, because I have just deleted those. So till now we have seen various git commands. Today we have seen git stash command, how is it useful, where we can use it. Now till now we have been working on the local git repository. We have not yet connected it to centralized server so that multiple developers can work. And so what we'll do now, make use of GitHub, which is a centralized GitHub source code management system, and they provide centralized git repository. So we'll use that. We'll create our own sample repository in GitHub, and we'll connect that particular remote repository to our local Git repository, which we are working on currently. I'll just open Google Chrome. Let me just go to github.com. So I have already logged in with my username and password. So if you don't have any GitHub account, so you can just sign up, and you will be landing up in this page. So I'll just click on this new repository. So the owner is my username, and the repository name is, let's say, sample project. Okay, so we can provide our description here, like this is a sample project 2 or something like sample project, let's say. Yeah, so we can either choose this particular repository to be public or private, since I think GitHub is now with Microsoft, and they have made this they have made this private thing as chargeable. So if you opt to have this particular repository as private, you have to pay something. Or maybe they have this particular you can have 3 private repository without paying anything. But let's just go via this public repository, and I'll not add git ignore, and I'll not add license for now. I'll not initialize it with readme. We'll just look into these 3 later. I'll just create the repository for now, and after creating this repository, you can see I have this username and I have the sample project repository which I created. So I need to connect this particular remote repository to my local git repository which we are working on. So there are 2 ways to connect your local repository to this remote repository, via HTTPS connection or SSH connection. So let's use this HTTPS connection first. So either we can copy this way, or I can just click on this. It will copy to the clipboard, and I'll come here. So let me just split this window. Yeah, so let me just copy it. I have copied this. What I'll do, I'll just clear this. So there is a command which is git remote command, which helps in connecting remote repository to the local repository. So we'll see. For the command is git remote add origin. So it is saying git that we are adding a remote repository, the origin of which is present in this URL. So if I click on this, it has added this particular remote repository to my local Git repository. But if I do a git push now, it will say the current branch development has no upstream branch. So in order to push it, you first have to set your upstream branch. Okay, so what I can do is and if you refresh this page, this has nothing, right? This has no code because we have not yet pushed. So as we all know, there are two things: git push command and git pull command. What git push command do is it will push all your local changes to the remote repository, and git pull command will just retrieve all the latest changes or modified changes from remote repository, and it will copy that to your local repository. So sorry first I need to push the changes. So for that we have command git push, and there is something called as -u, which is, I'll just tell you what it is. So git push -u origin, and I need to push into development. So what I'm saying git is key, I need to push my changes into development branch of the origin. So where is the origin is at this particular URL, and I need to create this. What this will do is this will create a branch development in the origin in this sample project, and it will push all my local changes which is currently present in my development branch to that particular remote repository. So let me just hit enter, and it will just push it. So it has not asked me for username and password, but because I have already connected my GitHub repository with this username. So if you are facing something like enter your username and enter your password, you can just put your username and your password into the console, and it will just connect it to your remote repository. So if I refresh this page again, let me just go to code, and I can see I have a branch development in here. Okay, and this development branch has all the three files which is currently present in my local system. So let's say ls, yeah. So I have this file.js, index.html, and index.js. Okay, all these particular three files have been pushed to my remote repository. But if you see carefully, this particular repository does not have a master branch, but in my local system I have one more branch which is master. So if I do a git branch -a, it will list down my local branches and the remote branches which I am connected to. So currently in remote repository I have only development branch, so it is showing in red that these are the remote branches and these two are the development branches. So suppose I want my remote repository to be updated with the master branch as well. So this git push -u origin development, what it does is whenever we'll push from now on, this -u command will help Git in remembering the branch in which we pushed earlier. So suppose if I change something, let's say I open file.js, and I just, let's say I've added something. Okay, and I've let's say saved it. So it's, if you can see, the file has been modified, and if I can do git add dot git commit -m, sorry -m, and let's say modified. Okay, and I want to push it. So either I can do the same thing like git push -u origin development, or I can just do git push. What it will do, because Git is remembering which branch we pushed earlier into, so it will go and it will directly push it to development branch. So if I refresh this repository now, and you can see this file.js has this particular comment modified, and 22 seconds ago I have just modified this file. If I open this, you can see all these changes are present here. Okay, but I want master branch to be updated in my remote repository. So for that we have one more command, which is git push space -- all. So if I do git push -- all origin, what it will do, it will look through all the branches which I have in my local system, and it will check into remote repository what branches is in sync with my local, and other branches which are not available in the remote repository, it will just add it to the remote repository. As you can see, in remote repository, it has created a pull request for master on GitHub by visiting this particular URL, and it saw that there is no master branch available in GitHub remote repository, so it just created one branch master and pushed all the content of the master branch in my local system to the remote repository. If I just refresh the page, and if I see, I have this master branch available in here. Okay, so this is how we can connect our remote repository to our local Git directory, and there are more to it. I mean, if suppose so this helps, I mean, remote repository helps in multiple developers to work at the same time. So currently I'm just showing you how a single person is committing the file and pushing the changes and all of those stuff. So let's see if any other developer wanted to work on this particular remote repository sample project, and what he did is he just copied this URL, and let me just open one more terminal. Okay, let me just go back, and let me create one more folder. Let's say mkdir developer 2. Okay, I'll go to dev 2. So in this particular folder there is nothing. So what I'll do, I want this particular remote repository to be available in this folder. So for that we have a command which is git clone. What it will do, whatever remote repository URL which we will give in git clone command, it will just go to that particular URL. It will fetch all the source code, all the branches from that particular remote repository to your local system. So let's say git clone, and I'll just give my URL. So it says cloning into sample project, so it will create a sample project which is the repository name. And if I do ls now, it has the sample project. I'll just go inside this sample project, and I can see all those 3 files. If I do a git branch -a, I can see development is there, and these 3 remote repositories are there. Okay, so let me just open one of the file. Let me just open Visual Studio Code. I'll just open the particular folder. So I was in dev 2. Yeah, I have the sample project. Right now I'm in development branch, so let me just open this index.html once, and I'll just add one tag, say h1. Okay, and I'll write something. I'll just save it. I'll go back to this one. I'll just do git status, so I can see I have modified this index.html. I'll just add it. I'll just commit modified index.html, and I want to push it. Okay, so I'll just push it. What it will do, it will just push these changes to index.html to the remote repository. And if I can refresh this page now, I can see this index.html. Okay, it's in master, so I have just pushed into development. So let's just it says modified index.html. If I click on this, it will show me the changes. So initially it was empty, and right now I have added this particular line of code. But this assume this particular folder which I am currently working on is developer2, who has just changed index.html. Okay, and if I go back to my previous folder where I was working, so let me just go to so if I go here and I'll do git status, there's nothing to commit. If I do ls, all the 3 files are there. And let's say I have just I'll just open. So let me just go to file, sorry, go to file, and I'll open the workspace, which is this one. Yeah, and if I open index.html, there is nothing because I have not changed it. Some other developer has changed and pushed into report repository. So let me just do, sorry, just let me add paragraph 1 something. Okay, he has changed something else. He had added heading, and I'm adding paragraph 1. So those two are two different things. So let's see if I try to push it now, what error it throws. So if I do a git status right now, so I have changed this particular file. I'll do git add, I'll do a git commit, by dev1, let's say. And if I do a git push, just see it threw an error that it says to this particular remote repository failed to push some reference to this particular URL because updates were rejected because remote contains work that you do not have locally. Since developer 2 had already changed this particular file and committed to GitHub remote repository, and I have not synced my local repository to the GitHub remote repository, and hence I don't have those changes which has been done by developer 2. And what I did, I just modified the same file and I want to push my changes to GitHub remote repository, but it says there are conflicts. Okay, it says you don't have the changes which is been pushed to remote repository, and you cannot like directly push it. First you have to take a pull from there to sync your local directory, and then you can promote your changes. So what I'll do now, I'll just write git pull. What it will do, it will go to the remote repository, it will pull all the changes, and it says auto merging index.html is not possible because those two developers have changed one single file with two different things. So what I'll do, I'll just go to Visual Studio Code once, and if you closely see, I am in this sample project, which is we are assuming developer 1, and in index.html I had added this particular thing, right, paragraph 1, and it says head because currently we are in this particular file. Our git head is at this particular change. It says current change which we want to push it to remote repository. And it also, after git pull command, it also fetched the changes which has been done by developer 2, and it says incoming change, so which is basically the previous commit, the latest commit which has been done by some other person. And what I have two options, either I accept this particular change, or I can delete this change, or I can keep only my change. So let me just see if this gives me an option. So no, it does not give me any option because I have pulled the code. So let me go back to terminal and do a git status. It says both modified index.html. Let me add this, let me commit it, modified index.html. Okay, if I do a git status now, there's nothing, but if I do a git push now, it should again yeah. So if I just refresh this particular page, okay, let me just go back. Yeah, you see right now what is happening, I had this change, right, which was coming from which was my change, and this was the incoming change, but I had not modified it. So ideally it should be, I should have done this thing, and I could have deleted this particular thing like this, so that uh, other than the code nothing else should be there. But I did not do that. I just added it, I just committed it, and I just pushed it. So it took all the changes, like it is just showing this particular some random commit id, and this head ideally it should not be going. So let me just do a git status in here. I'll do a git add dot git commit minus m, and clean the code, just make it push. So whenever we face the situation of auto merge conflict, or somebody had changed the file while we were working on the same file, then we just need to pull that. We just need to assess that particular file, what changes is the incoming change and what are our current change. We need to resolve those conflicts, and we need to add and we need to push that to remote repository. So if I refresh this page right now, it has only my change. I mean, it has both the changes. These changes were coming from developer 2, and these were the changes I just pushed it. So this way we can make use of remote repository while working parallelly with other developers and all. So this is about how to connect, how we can connect our GitHub remote repository to a local repository, and we have seen git stash command. So this is it for the Git and GitHub tutorial. There are something which I'll let you know in the next video, which is something like how to add licensing, how to add git ignore, what git ignore do, and all those little details which I'll sum up in a short video. So till then, bye bye.